What is your standard that you use to determine that we're the best country in the world?
I would say it's best for freedom.
Did you know we don't rank anywhere near #1 on the Human Freedom Index, or the Social Mobility Index, or the Economic Freedom Index?
Oh, no, I did not know that.
So what freedom?
Freedom of speech, freedom of peaceful protest, freedom to bear arms, freedom of religion.
What if I told you every single one of those Donald Trump's undermined?
How has he undermined freedom of religion and freedom to bear arms?
Yeah, freedom of religion. He called for the banning of all Muslims from coming to the country. For bearing arms, he said we should remove trans people's access to arms in this country, which is a violation of the Second Amendment. And then also for speech and protest, he literally detained Mahmoud Khalil for over 100 days without due process for pro-Palestinian speech, and tried to pass an executive order to try to remove individuals such as himself, those that had green cards, from the country just based upon their free speech and pro-Palestinian advocacy.
Find out. Did you see the interview this week with the lady, the Trump supporter in Ohio at the gas pumps, when she was asked by an NBC reporter how she thought the second term of Trump was going? Was it going like she thought? And she said, I can't afford to breathe. I can't afford to breathe air. Standing there with her 2 teenage girls, she goes, I hoped it was going to be so much better. You know, you can't do anything with gas prices. You can't afford to breathe at this point. What? She's confessing that under Donald Trump, you can't afford to breathe. You can't afford the gas prices. FAFO, baby. And by the way, she had Trump stickers all over the back window of the minivan and a Let's Go Brandon sticker. How's that going for you right now? Further, I try to do a lot for my kids, and I can't do much with these gas prices. The cost of living with inflation. What? You're admitting cost of living, inflation, gas prices are bad under Donald Trump? Well, that's what she's saying. This is Ohio. By the way, with that big 2 cents an hour we got in July, that was the average wage increases, 2 cents an hour. So if you work an 8-hour day, you made 16 extra cents in July. Did that keep up with Donald Trump's cost, his inflation, his gas prices? What do you think? Well, this woman was very upset. She got to the point she was crying because she can't afford things. It's sad. It's sad. But Donald Trump promised them the world. He promised he would bring down prices. He would make things affordable, cut electricity in half in 12 months. Gas prices $1.99. Great economy, all this stuff, and we don't have any of those things. The only people that are doing well, the rich people, and the rich people that own a lot of stock. They're doing well, but everybody else is getting it tough, and that's the only reason Donald Trump says, well, look at the stock market. Yeah, because the rich are making a ton of money. Let me know what you think. You agree or disagree with this woman in Ohio? Things tough out there. 2 cents an hour wage increases. Is that a good sign of progress, or what do you think? Let me know.
It's not enough that Trump is not going to pay taxes ever again. His family, his businesses, he'll never pay another dime in taxes. It's not enough that he's looting our federal government. He wants to rub your stupid MAGA noses in it. Every time you have to say no to your children, they want something, you have to feed them, you have to take them to the doctor. Every time you can't afford a prescription. Anytime you can't afford to fix your car. Anytime you can't afford anything. Trump wants you to know that you're paying for him and his children to fly all over the world and to be billionaires.
I feel totally betrayed. I mean, you never think, or I never thought a guy like me would ever be involved in anything like this. 8 officers, ICE agents, swarmed Jasmine, detained her, didn't tell us why, and rustled her off into a car. No explanation was given. I was just in total disbelief. I have several businesses. I'm law-abiding, and I pay a lot of tax. I voted for Trump. They are picking up law-abiding citizens. They're destroying families, jobs.
You voted for the president in the most recent election.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that again. Not after this fiasco. This is like the Gestapo.
You know, when I invited the wolf over to my house, I never expected that he would eat me personally. Okay, I thought he was going to eat the brown sheep. But an upstanding, successful, tax-paying white sheep such as myself? Come on. You know, it really is a shame that no matter how many times you tell a Republican that the stove is way too hot, they still have to sit on it themselves before they figure it out. They're like, I'm not going to trust no liberal. Let me try to... Ooh. Oh. Anyway, I hope everyone's having a great week so far, and I hope our friend John here remembers that it is better to have loved and lost your Trump-supporting wife to ICE than it is to never have loved at all, okay? All right. All right.
You promised not to get into any foreign wars on the campaign trail?
That's one of the things that has angered me, is like almost immediately went back on his word.
He also said he would bring prices lower. Obviously, you mentioned fertilizer prices. We've seen gas prices, grocery prices, real estate prices. Is that another frustration for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's making it harder to pay off my college debt and stuff like that. I was doing pretty well for a while, and now it's kind of coming closer to a halt.
I guess when you did vote for Donald Trump, is this what you were expecting?
Certainly not with the foreign wars and stuff like that, no.
Out of it, man enough to say it. I was one of those guys back in 2020, 2024, shit, even 2016 before I could vote. I was all for Trump. I was all for MAGA. I believed he was going to make America great again. I believed he was going to drain the swamp. I thought he was going to be different. He wasn't a career politician. And boy, was I wrong. My views didn't change. They still remain the same. I did fall for the deception, though, because I can't in good conscience support someone who's responsible for a pointless war where thousands of innocent lives are dying every single day. I can't support someone who mocked Christ on Easter. I sure as hell can't support someone who calls the people who want transparency on one of the most heinous and insidious acts in human history, the Epstein files, calls them liars and lunatics. He's probably a part of it himself. Can't support that. When it comes to politics, it's hard to even align myself with one of the parties because they're both being controlled by the same puppeteers at the top. So I was wrong. Not proud of it. Man enough to say.
MAGA voters are turning on Trump, including some prominent ones, and it is truly a delight to see. But at the same time, they dug themselves into this hole to begin with. Let me explain. As many of you know, Donald Trump has survived scandals. He has survived criminal convictions. He's survived being found civilly liable for sexual abuse. He has survived years of thousands and thousands of documented lies. What is happening right now may be even more dangerous politically to the future of MAGA, which is that MAGA voters themselves are realizing that the promise that brought them into this movement in 2024 to begin with was a con job. It was a scam. It was a grift. And some of the people now saying it are coming from Trump's own cultural base. Here is an interview on MS Now yesterday with a MAGA voter who straight up says, Trump said no foreign wars, and he went back on his word, and this voter isn't happy. Let's take a listen.
You promised not to get into any foreign wars on the campaign trail?
That's one of the things that has angered me, is like almost immediately went back on his word.
He also said he would bring prices lower. Obviously, you mentioned fertilizer prices. We've seen gas prices, grocery prices, real estate prices. Is that another frustration for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's making it harder to pay off my college debt and stuff like that. I was doing pretty well for a while, and now it's kind of coming closer to a halt.
I guess when you did vote for Donald Trump, is this what you were expecting?
Certainly not with the foreign wars and stuff like that, no.
So listen, he's admitting it publicly. Cool. That takes some courage. It takes some introspection. It takes some ability to reevaluate your beliefs. That's great. That should be praised. But we all told you guys that it was BS. When Tulsi as a Democrat ran as the lone real liberal who's against wars, we warned you. This is BS. Don't fall for it. And then when Trump said, I'm the anti-war president, and Tulsi goes, hey, you know what? Even though I used to be a Democrat, Trump convinced me he's the anti-war president. We warned you. Trump is only willing to say he's anti-war if he thinks it's useful. As soon as he believes that war is what will benefit him, or he wants to do it for ego reasons, or he has a bruised ego and he's going to do it. So it was predictable. And we told these people, but they didn't listen.
When you take a look at all of the policies that Donald Trump is having versus all the policies that Kamala Harris was promoting, did run on, and by the way, American Rescue Plan, that was a disaster. Loan forgiveness attempt, that would have been horrible. Inflation Reduction Act, even the congressional analysis said that would have...
Let's talk about that. If I could just, 30 seconds here. First of all, we are now spending $2 billion a day on a war that is illegal and ill-advised. That's number one. You go out there right now and you go to the gas station, that was Donald Trump's choice to go to war in Iran. You know the two people that have benefited the most from this war? It's not America. You know who it is? It's Benjamin Netanyahu and it's Vladimir Putin, the puppet. Now, hold on. You want to talk about the economy and you want to get into the weeds with me? Let's talk about that. Donald Trump gave the biggest tax breaks to the top 1% last year. $100 billion. And while he's given the biggest tax breaks to the top 1%, which what I assume is not you and most people here, guess what he's done? He's taken away the benefits from people that are struggling, living paycheck to paycheck. And then we're told from MAGA Republicans that it's patriotic to spend $6 a gallon for gas while our brave men and women are coming home in caskets. And you wanna preach to us about economics?
MAGA is having a really hard time right now coming to terms with the fact that Donald Trump has lied to them about quite literally everything. So they're struggling right now. It's a bit of an internal debate inside of each and every one of these little MAGA people, because right now, most of them, I will say most, are totally happy with Donald Trump becoming the new leader of Venezuela in addition to the United States. But there's a good number of them that remember just, a year ago when Donald Trump had promised no new wars, no new conflicts. There was going to be peace. I mean, hell, Trump told us on Christmas Eve that his plan for the new year was just peace on earth, right? Or maybe that was New Year's Eve. And then a couple days later, he takes over Venezuela. But none of this, by the way, is, quote, America first. As Donald Trump pledged in his first, second, and third presidential campaigns, he was a president for the American people, by the American people, and by God, that's what he was going to take care of. Now that he's proven that's not true, MAGA's having a bit of a tough time. Nobody, of course, more so than Marjorie Taylor Greene. I know it's been a little buried because of what happened with Venezuela, but before the attack on Venezuela on Friday night, Donald Trump did announce that morning that we had troops ready to go into Iran if the government killed any protesters. Marjorie Taylor Greene got on social media following that threat from Donald Trump and said this: Israeli cybersecurity billionaire demanding to take away Americans' guaranteed First Amendment free speech and President Trump threatening war and sending in troops to Iran is everything we voted against in 2024. Trump voters spent the week threatening a tax revolt because they are so furious about the never-ending waste, fraud, and abuse of their hard-earned money going to foreigners and foreign wars. The focus should be on tax dollars here at home and defending our God-given freedoms and rights. Now, aside from her, borrowing the old KKK slogan, America First, she's not entirely wrong. We have so many problems here in the United States. We still have infrastructure that is crumbling to dust. We have Americans that cannot afford groceries. We have 20+ million people that lost their health care this year. And folks, we are 6 days into the year.
Somebody's making money on the side. It's not me. That's all I got to say.
Is it frustrating?
It's frustrating that you see your president getting richer and richer and the middle class is getting poor. And that's about it.
That's very frustrating to actually hear that. And like I said, I don't do the politics and stuff, but to hear that come from another American that, is not getting $2 million put in their pocket.
$2 billion.
$2 billion, $2 million, $2 trillion, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money, and that would help out a lot of people around here. A lot of homeless people. You could open shelters. You could really help somebody out with that.
Life in America right now, the economy's tough. People are struggling, and hopefully it'll change.
He definitely made lots of promises, and he made them seem like they were going to come a lot quicker, faster than they actually were to ever come or ever will come. Like 90% of all the elections in the past, the candidates, they promised the moon and fall short at the end of the day. But I don't think it was the Donald Trump that we saw in 2016, and I don't think that he can make up for it in what's left of his current term.
Trump supporters are now upset with Donald Trump's immigration policies because they are directly affecting them and their families. Now, this is specifically Cuban-American Trump supporters who thought likely that Donald Trump's policies wouldn't affect them at all. It would only affect people that didn't like Trump, that he didn't like, but not them. Take a look at what Congresswoman Salazar had to say, who is a Cuban American and a Trump supporter. I'm urging Homeland Security to protect Cubans awaiting legal status adjustment through the Cuban Adjustment Act. Don't penalize them for Biden's screw-ups. Well,
wait, what if the policy you voted for are now the same policy eating your own wallet? So that is the uncomfortable question some Trump supporters are now asking. The reason why is that it is easy to celebrate a political victories when you are watching it on television, but it is a complete different feelings when you see the consequence in your grocery bills, in your business, in your jobs, or your family monthly budget. And that is where political loyalty gets tested. So in my own opinion, this is the moment when voters have to stop asking, did my side win? And what they have to be asking themselves is, did my life actually get better? So, because many Donald Trump supporters voted that they believe his policy would put American workers and businesses first. So they wanted stronger borders, more domestic production, less government spending. They want a stronger American economy. So those are understandable goals. But here is the problem. A policy can sound great during a campaign and still create unexpected consequences once it reaches the real economy. And that is why I think some of the frustration we are seeing deserve to be taken seriously. Because political loyalty can become emotional. People don't just vote for policies. They sometimes build their identity around a political movement. And when somebody criticizes that movement, it can feel like they are criticizing the person themselves. But I don't think voters should operate that way. A political works for the public, so the public doesn't work for the politician. So if a policy succeeds, give the administration credit. So if it fails, demand an explanation. And that is what we call accountability. So let's take traffic for example. The basic behind traffic is easy to understand. Make imported products more expensive, encourage domestic production, and potential protect American industry. But there is another side. American business can also depend on imported materials, equipment, and components. So when those costs rise, businesses may have to make difficult decisions. So they might raise their price, they might reduce expenses, they might delay their expansion, and eventually ordinary consumer can feel some of that pressure. So that is why I think economy policies should be judged by their real world results, not just by how good they sound in a speech. And this applies far beyond tariff. It applies to healthcare, taxes, immigration, energy, trade, government spending. Every policy creates winners, they create losers, cost and benefits. So the important question is whether the overall result actually improves people's life. And I think that is where some Trump supporters may be having a difficult conversation with themselves. Maybe they expected one thing, maybe reality turned out differently. Maybe they are still completely satisfied, and that is okay. So not every Trump voters is regretting their decision. That is important to say. But if someone does regret their vote, I don't think we should automatically mock them. I don't think that they should be afraid to admit it. So changing your mind after seeing new information is not weakness. Sometimes it simply means being honest. Because politician eventually leaves office at the end, but ordinary Americans still have to pay the bills. So that is why I think voters should look beyond political slogans. So look at your household, look at your business, look at your opportunities, look at the cost of living. Then you ask yourself whether the direction of the country is actually working for you. And this doesn't mean blaming Donald Trump for every problems America are in. The economy is incredibly complicated. Interest rates, global trade, wars, supply chains, previous administration, corporate decision, and international events can all affect people's finance. So blaming one president for everything would be unfair. But that doesn't mean presidents shouldn't be held responsible for their decision. It's not that I'm supporting Donald Trump or I'm against his policy. No, I'm just trying to share my own opinion on this. So, if you have any opinion, drop it down in the comment section below. And if this is your first time watching my video, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Thank you. See you next time.